let's get to that because, yes, the Knicks won the championship. They weren't the best regular season team. They were the 3 seed. The Celtics and Pistons were clearly better than them in every metric in the regular season. But I said the Knicks were built for the postseason, and they ended up proving it, going 16-3 in that run. But I don't think this Knicks team is built to go back-to-back. I would be very shocked if the Knicks got back to the finals in the next 2 or 3 years. The way the current.
Hey, on that note, wasn't there a statistic that, the previous the team that lost the Eastern Conference Finals has gotten to the NBA Finals the next season?
You got right where I was going, which means by that logic, you know where I'm heading with this. The team that should make the NBA Finals next year out of the East is the analytically driven Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, it's rocket science.
Yeah, because, the Indiana Pacers, they lost to the Boston Celtics in the 2024 Eastern Conference Finals. What happened? They got to the NBA Finals in 2025. The Knicks, they lost to the Pacers in 2025. They ended up getting to the finals in 2026. I'm pretty sure that happened with the Celtics when they lost to the Heat.
Did.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
didn't the Heat lose to Boston in 2022 in the ECF?
They might have.
And then they got back.
They
did. Then they got back in 23.
The Celtics and the Heat had a great, playoff rivalry.
They had a 3 out of 4 year stretch. I think it was 2020, 2022, and 2023 where that was the ECF.
Yes. 2021 is the only one I can think of off the top of my head where it wasn't Celtics Heat.
Yeah, it was Bucks Hawks because Ben Simmons decided not to shoot a layup at the rim. I'll tell you what, Josh. This is real quick. I'll give you an asterisk title. The more you look at that Milwaukee Bucks title, I don't know if it's an asterisk, but it's the biggest one-off title next to the 2019 Raptors I've ever seen.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that. I'm starting to think the Denver Nuggets title in 2023 looks that way.
They certainly got a lot of breaks, I'll tell you that. And by the way, the Nuggets are a good team. I like them. They should not be favored in the West. I still think the Spurs are the team to beat, and even more than Victor Wembanyama. I was so freaking impressed with Dylan Harper in this series. Dylan Harper is going to be a superstar. I really believe Victor Wembanyama has already found his Dwayne Wade or his Magic Johnson when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in the day. Like these two all-stars. Shaq had Kobe. I think Wemby found his guy in Dylan Harper. I love Stephon Castle too, but the lights were a little bit too bright for him in this series. I think the Spurs, they're going to keep mostly everybody together.
They better not keep De'Aaron Fox. My God. I saw something on social media today that Knicks fans are actually making jerseys with De'Aaron Fox's name on the back.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully, Mitch Johnson learns from it. I think this question will ultimately be answered though in a couple weeks because it depends on what happens with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, reports came out today that he is reportedly for some reason only interested in signing an extension with Miami, which doesn't make any sense to me. Listen, if I said AC, I'm giving up draft picks and I'm giving up Chet Holmgren and I'm going to get him.
Yes, 100%. 100%. OKC should still be one of the favorites. But that's largely dependent on J-Dub staying healthy because that was one of the huge things that I believe held them back, not just in the playoffs, but also in the regular season.
Well, they did finish the regular season with the best record in the NBA, so how much did it hold them back?
I think it held them back to a certain degree, not majorly, but
let me ask you this. Do you believe if J-Dub is in there the whole season? Remember they started off like 24-1, and we did a topic on this show, like, could they break the Golden State record?
Yeah. It's maybe, but more than anything, I think it would have given them that sense of continuity, and they would have been better equipped going into the postseason if J-Dub had been able to stay healthy. That's more what I'm going.
There are 5, well, there's actually 6 teams that I'm really interested to see what moves they make. And some of them will be minor and others of them will be major.
Okay.
Three teams in the Eastern Conference. I'll go in order of where they finished last year. Number 1, Detroit.
Agreed.
Do they make a big move and go and get a second score?
They have to. Like, we saw this in the postseason, especially down the stretch against Orlando and down the stretch against us. It was basically Cade Cunningham or bust.
Which is interesting because my number 2 team is the Boston Celtics. What do they do with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? And arguably more importantly, do they change their style of play?
That's a hard one.
Because in my opinion, I think they, and I would hate to see it, and to be honest with you, I think it would be a mistake because I don't think it would guarantee you a championship. But if I had to bet right now, I think the Greek Freak opening night is a member of the Boston Celtics.
And Jaylen Brown is a Milwaukee Buck?
And or they flip Jaylen Brown, Milwaukee does, to another team, and they just completely start over.
I had seen reports that maybe there was going to be a 3-team trade with the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Clippers, where Jaylen Brown would end up in LA, Giannis would go to Boston, and the Bucks would end up with the number 5 overall pick.
The number 5 pick for Giannis, and that's like all you're going to get? That I wouldn't like that if I'm Milwaukee. So you're telling me the Clippers would keep Kawhi and Jaylen Brown together, which is an interesting defensive duo. I don't know how far they would go because of Kawhi's injury history. But the other one in the East I'm looking out for is our Cavs. You know, even though James Harden got arrested in Houston over the weekend, I expect that he will opt out. I think he will come back to Cleveland on maybe a 2-year deal or something like that. And then obviously the big question is, Evan Mobley, do you move him for Giannis? And do you somehow convince LeBron to come back here? Those are the 2 biggest questions for the Cavs, because that, in my opinion, is the only way they get out of the East. Is one of those 2 moves.
Okay. I agree with you about Detroit. I agree with you about the Cavs. But my number 3 team is actually a team that didn't make the playoffs this season, but they were in the NBA Finals back in 2025. The Indiana Pacers. A big part of the reason why the Pacers got to the finals is because they had Miles Turner alongside Pascal Siakam. And, of course, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Tyrese Haliburton, and so on. But will the Pacers go out and try and get, another Miles Turner-esque player to go alongside Siakam?
I'm not even kidding. Indiana should just see if they can get Turner back from the Bucks. They're not going anywhere. Miles Turner is rotting his career away there, especially if they do trade Giannis.
I agree. But they did get Ivica Zubac, so they might move forward with that pairing, which I don't know.
Not have 2 bigs. The Spurs have it with Wemby and Cornette. Thunder have it with Harvenstein, who's going to be a free agent, by the way, and Holmgren. 2 bigs can work.
No, I agree with you on that. We will get to that, Grandizer. Don't you worry.
So let's talk about the Western Conference teams that I'm looking to, though. What is the T-Wolves? I talked about this last week. They may be what the Bills and the Ravens are to the Kansas City Chiefs. where it's like they're a really good team. They just can't get past the Spurs and the Thunder. They're going to have to make some sort of move, and I don't know what that move is right now.
Think about this. Cat gets traded out of Minnesota, wins a title. Andrew Wiggins gets traded out of Minnesota, wins a championship. Kevin Love gets traded out of Minnesota, wins a championship.
Anthony Edwards is busy dabbing up the Spurs with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter of Game 6.
Yes. And
by the way, I'm pretty sure the Spurs were up more on the Knicks in Game 4 than the T-Wolves were at that moment. I could be wrong, but I think I was right on that.
By the way, I know this is getting into baseball, but David Ortiz, he left Minnesota and won a championship. Oh, I almost forgot. Sam Darnold left Minnesota, won a Super Bowl.
I didn't know David Ortiz was a twin. I'm being completely honest there.
Yep. He did not play his entire career with the Red Sox. He started with the Twins.
Again, you learn something new every day. Quickly, the other two teams. Obviously, one of them, the Lakers. What are they going to do with LeBron? And I'm starting to have questions about whether you can build around Luka Doncic or not, because he's never reliable. Great player, but he's seemingly always hurt and sometimes not in shape. And the other one is obviously Houston, a team that I was on going into the year. I thought they could have a real chance to win the championship. Fred VanVleet's going to come back, yes, but has Kevin Durant already burned too many bridges in that locker room?
Yeah. I got to start, in terms of the West, I got to start with OKC. Are they going to bring back Chet Holmgren, or do they try and go out and get Giannis, as we mentioned earlier? So, OKC. In terms of Denver, I got to put them in there. Like we said, it's starting to look like the Nuggets championship in 2023 was a one-off. What do they do around Jokic? Like, do they go are they going to go full rebuild and maybe try to trade Jokic? Are they going to try and...
I don't think you can do that. I think you have to try one more time. Maybe they try to move off Jamal Murray.
See, here's my thing. You were talking about how Wemby found like his Kobe to his Shaq, or his Dwayne Wade to his Shaq, or, you know, all that. I thought that's what Jamal Murray was going to be for Jokic. I really had high hopes for Jamal Murray in that regard. I really did.
I think the problem with Jamal Murray is he can't stay healthy, because I agree with you. They can be, but the year they won the title, he was healthy.
Yeah. So, but again, like, if you keep Jokic and Murray together, what is that roster going to look like around them? Because they go out and they trade for Cam Johnson from Brooklyn for Michael Porter Jr. He couldn't stay healthy. Aaron Gordon couldn't stay healthy. So what do the Nuggets do? So definitely Denver. I agree with you about Minnesota. And then what about Dallas?
Well, they're not a real championship contender yet.
I'm not saying they are, but I'm still interested in what Dallas is going to do. Like, how do they continue to build around Cooper Flagg? Do they go out and try and sign another big name to go alongside him? How do they build that roster up?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm them, I'm using Kyrie Irving as a trade piece. Minnesota, you know, Detroit, one of these teams that we mentioned, even Houston.
Yeah.
I would try to move Kyrie.
No, I agree with you that they should not be in the championship picture at all, but I still wanted to include them nonetheless. And then in the East, like I said, Detroit for sure, Indiana, and Cleveland.